Hello everyone, welcome to Physics Online CET classes. In the last session, we have studied synopsis on the chapter Mechanical Properties of Solid. In today's session, I am going to solve multiple choice questions on the chapter Mechanical Properties of Solid. From this chapter, you will get one question in a JEE, NEET or Karnataka CET. So let us solve multiple choice questions on the chapter Mechanical Properties of Solid. So the first question, the property of a body by the virtue of which it tends to regain its original size and shape when the applied force is removed is called. The options are given: elasticity, plasticity, rigidity and compressibility. So here they had given the definition, the property of a body by the virtue of which it tends to regain its original size and shape when the applied force is removed. Yes, when applied force is removed, the body having certain property to regain its original shape and size, and that property we are going to call it as elasticity. So option A is right. Plasticity is exactly opposite to elasticity. In plasticity, for example, you can take a mud. When we applied force on the mud, its shape changes. When you remove applied force, this mud will not regain its original shape. So we can call it as plasticity. Then third option they had given rigidity. Rigidity, rigid body means a solid. When we applied force on rigid body, its shape and size do not changes. So the property of the body by the virtue of which can regain its original size and shape by the removal of the force is called elasticity. So option A is right. Then second question, which of the following material is most elastic? Options: steel, rubber, copper and glass. They had given 4 materials. Out of 4 materials, which material is having most elastic property? So these all materials are having certain elastic property, but which is having more elasticity? So remember, steel is 10 raised to 5 times greater than rubber. Steel is, we already studied in synopsis, you can remember the tabular column of Young's modulus. So there we have studied the value of Young's modulus for a certain material. So there we have studied steel is 10 raised to 5 times greater than rubber. So this steel material is having greater elastic property. So how much elastic property it is having compared to rubber? It is 10 raised to 5 times it is greater than rubber. So actual value of steel, you can remember that a tabular column, steel is actually 20 into 10 raised to 10 Newton per meter square, and rubber is having 1 into 10 raised to 6 Newton per meter square, and this copper is having 1.2 into 10 raised to 11 Newton per meter square. Similarly for glass, its value is 7 into 10 raised to 10 Newton per meter square. These are the values. This is actual the value of elasticity or Young's modulus. So you can compare all the value which is greater here. Steel is greater. So steel value is 20 into 10 raised to 10 Newton per meter square, or steel is 10 raised to 5 times greater than rubber. So which is the right option? Option A is correct. Third question, substances which can be stretched to cause large strain are called. Substance which can be stretched to cause large strain. So when we stretch the substance, if the strain is greater, what is the strain? Strain means a change in configuration to the original configuration. So then that substance, what we can call it as? They had given the options brittle, ductile, plastic, elastomers. So first you have to know the meaning of each term. What is brittle? Brittle means actually it is a hard substance. It is a hard substance, but it is very easy to break. That is brittle. Then come to the ductile. Ductile means flexible. It is a flexible material. Flexibility is more. Then plastic. Plastic means, so when we molded the substance, it can easily mold here and it becomes very soft. That is plastic. Then come to elastomers. Elastomers are having both viscosity and elasticity property. Elastomer having both viscosity and elastic property, so sometimes it is also called as viscoelasticity. The substance which can be stretched to cause large strain. For example, you can take a rubber. So rubber, when we stretch, configuration is greater here. So length increases, its shape and size changes, so strain is larger for rubber. Rubber is elastomer. So that's why substance which can be stretched to cause large strain. When we stretch the substance, its change in the configuration is greater for rubber like material. Rubber means it is elastomer, so option D is right. But in remaining options, brittle, it is a hard substance, ductile, it is a flexible substance, plastic, it is not having elastic property. When it is molded, it becomes very soft, that is plastic. So the right option is option D. Remember, elastomers are also called as viscoelasticity. It is, plastic is like a synthetic material, right? Elastomers, they are also called as viscoelasticity. Is it clear? So option D is right. Come to the fourth question. If the load is increased beyond the dash, the strain increases rapidly for even a small change in the stress. The load is increased beyond the dash. So what we have to fill in that point? They had given the options elastic point, yield point, plastic point and fracture point. So this question is related to stress strain curve. You can remember stress strain curve. So this is stress strain curve. So from point O to A. So O to A, we can call it as limit of proportionality. Then it reaches from A to B like this. Then B to C, right? Then C to D, right? So this is O dash to C. Let's take it as O dash. This is stress and this is for strain. This is our stress strain curve. You can remember here. Yes, this A point we can call it as limit of proportionality. So this O to O dash, it is having a permanent change in its shape and size. This point B, we can call it as elastic limit. When it crosses elastic limit, it will not follow Hooke's law. So then it reaches point C. Point C is called yield point, right? Then point D is a fracture point. D is a fracture point. C is yield point. B is plastic point. A is elastic point. So from O to A, when we applied force, it can regain its original size and shape. It will obey Hooke's law. But in A to B, for less force, there is more change in the configuration. It will also follow Hooke's law. But when it crosses limit of proportionality, when it crosses limit of elasticity, it reaches yield point. At yield point, what happens? The strain increases rapidly for even small change in the stress. That indicates size and shape immediately changes for small amount of force. So this is called yield point. You can go to the question now. If the load is increased beyond the yield point, then the strain increases rapidly for even a small change in the stress. So the right option is point option B. Remember, at yield point, for small change in the force, there is a large elongation takes place. Means there is a large change in the configuration takes place. Come to the fifth question. The restoring force per unit area is known as. Yes, this is the definition of what? Stress. What is stress? Stress is a restoring force per unit area. This is called stress. So directly we can go for the option C, that is stress. Then what is strain? First option. Strain is a change in configuration to the original configuration. Strain means generally we can write a change in configuration to the original configuration. So we can write it as delta L divided by L. Then elasticity, plasticity, both are exactly opposite. Elasticity having the property to regain its original size and shape when we remove force. But plasticity, it is not having a capacity to regain its original size and shape. So we can call it as plasticity. So option C is right. Then come to the sixth question. Which of the following types of stress causes no change in the shape? Which of the following types of stress causes no change in the shape? So we already studied the important three types of stress. What are the three types of stress? The first one is longitudinal stress, second one is tangential stress, and bulk stress or volume stress. Right? See here, which of the following type of the stress causes no change in the shape? So which type of stress causes no change in the shape? So you can observe options one by one. The first option is compressive stress. So what is compressive stress? Compressive stress is exactly opposite to bulk modulus, bulk stress. Right? Compressive stress means there is a decrease in the volume. Right? It is exactly reciprocal of bulk modulus. Then come to shearing stress. Shearing stress is equivalent to tangential stress. Tangential stress means what? Tangential force applied per unit area. So in compressive stress, volume decreases means shape changes. In shearing stress, we are applying force tangentially. So again shape changes here. Then come to the option B, hydraulic stress. Hydraulic stress is equivalent to volumetric strain. Volumetric, it means delta V divided by V. But there is no change in the shape. Hydraulic stress, it is the restoring force or internal force per unit area for liquid. So we are going to call it as hydraulic stress. So the same definition of stress we can use here, restoring force per unit area, but it is applicable for liquid. So that's why in hydraulic stress, there is no change in the shape of the object because it is given by the expression delta V divided by V. Hydraulic stress is almost relevant to volumetric strain. So option B is the right answer. Seventh question. In solids, interatomic forces are. In solid contains a large number of particles. All the particles are closely packed and between the particle there is always interatomic force is present. So now the question is, in a solid, interatomic forces are options totally repulsive, totally attractive, both repulsive and attractive, none of these. Remember, in a solid means a crystal, it contains a large number of atoms or you can take it as molecules. These are bounded by interatomic forces. So generally, interatomic forces means it is equivalent to electrostatic force. Interatomic forces means what? It is equivalent to electrostatic force. These are electrostatic in nature. So these forces consist of both attractive and repulsive. So the electrostatic force is present between the particles. This electrostatic force is having both attractive as well as repulsive. So when to use attractive force is exerted between positive and negative charged particles, right? So for positive and negative charged particles, for positive and negative charged particle, there is always which force? There is a force of attraction. If both are positive and positive, or if both are negative and negative, then there is always a repulsive force is present between them. So solid contains large number of atoms. Atoms contains protons, electrons and neutrons. So they are called positive and negatively charged particle. The force between plus and minus is repulsive. The force between plus and minus is attractive. That indicates both repulsive and attractive forces are present. So option C is right. Eighth question, which of the following affects the elasticity of the substance? Which of the following affect elasticity of the substance? What is elasticity? Remember, which is having the capacity to regain its original size and shape. So which one of the following will affect it? Options they are given: change in temperature, hammering and annealing, impurity in substance, all of this. Yes, which of these will affect elasticity? First option, change in temperature. So when a temperature increases, elongation of the body takes place. When a temperature decreases, compression of the body takes place. So elongation means extension, expansion, compression takes place when temperature changes. So means it is having elasticity property. So it will affect elasticity. First option is right. Come to the second option, hammering and annealing. Hammering, a heavy defeat. When we defeat the substance heavily so that its size and shape changes, and also it can regain its original size and shape, it can affect the elasticity. And annealing, it means by supplying heat energy, we are going to change its size and shape. We are going to heat and allow it to cool slowly in order to remove the internal stresses. To remove internal stress, first we allow the heat, temperature increases, then we made it to cool slowly so that its internal stress decreases. Again it will affect the elasticity property. Then third option, impurity in the substance. So when we are gone adding impurities to the substances, its elasticity property changes. So that indicates all the three options are right. So all of these, option D is right. Ninth question, according to Hooke's law of elasticity, if stress is increased, then the ratio of stress to strain is options. It becomes 0, it remains constant, decreases and increases. The question is, according to Hooke's law of elasticity, if stress is increased, then what about the ratio of stress and strain? Right? So remember Hooke's law. What is the statement? In elastic limit, stress is directly proportional to strain, or we can write it as stress divided by strain is equal to proportionality constant. That constant is called modulus of elasticity. Is it clear? So this statement we can use here. According to the question, stress is increased. Suppose stress is increased here. I am going to increase stress. When stress is increased, automatically strain also increases. What is stress? Restoring force per unit area. We are going to apply force per unit area. When we applied force, then a strain occurs. Strain means change in configuration to the original configuration, means its length or volume or area changes. So both are directly proportional according to Hooke's law. Stress is directly proportional to strain. As stress increases, strain also increases. So here the question is, when we increase stress, then the ratio of stress and strain remains constant. So why it remains constant? Suppose here initial values, let us consider stress is 2, strain is also 2. What is the answer? 1. When we increase stress, for example, stress increases to 4, immediately strain will also increase because both are directly proportional. So again the answer is 1. That indicates as stress increases, the ratio of stress and strain remains constant. So option B is right. 10th question. The Young's modulus of perfectly rigid body is. The Young's modulus of perfectly rigid body. Options: unity, 0, infinity, some finite non-zero constant. So for perfectly rigid body, strain produced is 0. What is a strain? Change in configuration, change in length, change in area, change in volume. But for rigid body, there is no change in shape and size. So strain is 0. What is the equation for Young's modulus? So generally we can write Young's modulus is equal to longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. This is the formula, longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. This is the equation. But for rigid body, if this is a rigid body, when we applied force, is there any change in its configuration? No, there is no change in length, area or volume because it is a rigid body. So therefore, strain is equal to what? Change in configuration to original configuration is 0. So y equal to, substitute here, stress divided by 0. Anything divided by 0 equal to what? Infinity. So Young's modulus for perfectly rigid body is infinity. So option C is right. 11th question. The ratio of shearing stress to the corresponding shearing strain is called. The ratio of shearing stress to the shearing strain is called shearing modulus. Shearing modulus is also called as a modulus of rigidity. Is it clear? Remember the definition of elastic modulus. Generally we can write, for Young's modulus we can write longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. This is Young's modulus. Is it clear? Similarly, bulk modulus B equal to, so we can write here volume stress divided by volume strain. This is what bulk modulus or volume modulus. Then shearing modulus. Shearing modulus means what? Shearing stress divided by shearing strain. So this shearing modulus, there is no option, but remember shearing modulus is also called as modulus of rigidity, which is equal to tangential stress divided by tangential strain. Tangential stress divided by tangential strain, which is also called as modulus of rigidity. So go for option C. 12th question. The material which practically does not show elastic after effect is. Options: copper, rubber, steel and quartz. The material which practically does not show elastic after the effect. So come to the first option, copper. So copper is having elastic property. After removal of force, it is having capacity to regain it. It can regain original size and shape. Similarly for rubber, similarly for steel. Copper, rubber, steel, these are having certain elastic property practically. When it comes to quartz, quartz means here what happens when we apply the force, deformation takes place. So first you should know generally what is elastic effect. What is elastic effect? So elastic effects means when we applied force, deformation takes place. Deformation means change in size and shape. But after removal of force, so when we applied force, after removal of force, so it should regain its size and shape. Regain of shape should take place. This is generally called as elastic effect. Here copper, rubber and steel, they can regain their original size and shape. But remaining is quartz. So here the quartz do not regain its original size and shape. So option D is the right answer. 13th question. The bulk modulus for an incompressible liquid is. Bulk modulus value for incompressible liquid. Options they had given 0, unity, infinity and between 0 and 1. So first we have to know what is bulk modulus. So bulk modulus is bulk stress divided by bulk strain, right? So bulk stress divided by bulk strain, or bulk means what here? Volume. So we can write it as volume stress divided by volume strain. This is what? Bulk modulus. So they had given here for incompressible liquid what is the value of bulk modulus. You can observe the equation. Bulk modulus, which is equal to volume stress. Stress is restoring force per unit area divided by volume strain, change in configuration to the original configuration, which is given by minus of delta V divided by V. Remember, so when the force is applied, always there is a decrease in the volume because it is going to compress. So we have to write a negative sign. That equation you should remember here. Or we can write it as restoring force per unit area F by A, which is equal to pressure. So we can write minus of P divided by delta V by V. Or it can also be written as minus, keep as it is. So PV divided by delta V. So this is a bulk modulus equation. Come to the question. The bulk modulus for an incompressible liquid means when we applied force, there is no compression of the liquid. So for incompressible liquid, what is the value of delta V? What is delta V? Change in volume. Whether volume changes, volume compressing here? No. So for incompressible liquid, delta V is equal to 0. Substitute here. So minus of PV divided by 0. Anything divided by 0 means what? It is equal to infinity. So bulk modulus for incompressible liquid is equal to infinity. So option C is right. 14th question. The reciprocal of bulk modulus is called. Yes, it is a direct question. You already know the definition. The reciprocal of bulk modulus is compressibility. So option D is right. Remember, reciprocal of bulk modulus. What is bulk modulus? Volume stress divided by volume strain. In bulk modulus, actually volume increases. But in compressibility, volume decreases. Compressibility is reciprocal of bulk modulus. So option D is right answer. 15th question. How is modulus of rigidity related to Young's modulus? How it is related? They had given some option y equal to g by 3, g equal to y by 3, g equal to y, g equal to y by 2. Modulus of rigidity is also called as shearing modulus. How shearing modulus is related to Young's modulus? This is the question. Remember, shearing modulus is generally less than that of Young's modulus of solid. This statement you should remember. What is the statement? Shearing modulus. Shearing means modulus of rigidity. Shearing modulus is generally, for solid it is generally less than that of Young's modulus. Young's modulus. Remember, Young's modulus is related to length, longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. So it is related to length. Shearing modulus is related to tangential area, means area. So which is greater here? Young's modulus is greater, length increases compared to area. So we can take shearing modulus is less than that of Young's modulus. Is it clear? For most of the solid, the value of shearing modulus is, remember, the shearing modulus is 1/3 of Young's modulus. Shearing modulus is denoted by G, Young's modulus is denoted by Y. G is less than Y. How much it is less than Y? So it is 1/3, means Y divided by 3. Shearing modulus is generally 1/3 of Young's modulus. So G equal to Y by 3. So shearing modulus is 1/3 of Young's modulus practically. So we can go for option B. 16th question. For a constant hydraulic stress on an object, the fractional change in object volume delta V by V and its bulk modulus B are related as. So here they had given the relation between hydraulic stress and bulk modulus. How they are related, that we can write. We know that bulk modulus is denoted by B. So B equal to, so what is bulk modulus? Bulk modulus is given by bulk stress, means volume stress divided by volume strain, or bulk stress divided by bulk strain, or we can write it as restoring force per unit area divided by delta V divided by V. So we consider only magnitude, or it can be written as force per unit area is equal to change in pressure delta P divided by delta V by V. Or this equation can also be written as delta P divided by delta V divided by V. Observe here. Suppose if change in pressure, if it is constant, so the above equation can be written as B becomes, we can write it as 1 by V is equal to delta V divided by V. Right? So this equation you can use here. Go for the option. For a constant hydraulic stress, change in volume of the object and its bulk modulus, how they are related? Bulk modulus, change in volume, how they are related? They had given the equation delta V divided by V is proportional to 1 by V. So we go for option B. Delta V by V proportional to 1 by B is the proper answer. 17th question. When forces are applied on a body such that it is still in static equilibrium, then the extent to which the body gets deformed depends on. When force applied on a body, still the object is in static equilibrium, that indicates there is no change in size and shape. Then the extent to which the body gets deformed. If the body is deforming, if its size and shapes are changing, then it is depending on what factor? They had given the options: nature of material, magnitude of deforming force, both A and B, none of these. Yes. The body, if it gets deformed, means when its size and shape changes, that depends on nature of material. Because what type of material you are going to consider, it is very important, depends on nature, its size and shape, deformation depends. And the second point, magnitude of deforming force. How much load is added, how much force is applied, its magnitude of deforming force is also important for the change in the size and shape. So A and B both are correct answer. So we go for option C. Both A and B is the right answer. 18th question. When a fluid compresses an object, then the Hooke's law is expressed as. When a fluid compresses an object, then Hooke's law is expressed as. Remember, when object undergoes hydraulic compression, So because they had given the sentence fluid compresses means hydraulic compression. So due to stress exerted by the surrounding liquid, then the Hooke's law takes this form, P equal to B into delta V divided by V. You can observe bulk modulus is given by the expression F by A divided by delta V by V, or we can write it as P divided by delta V by V. So I want a pressure, so pressure P equal to B into delta V divided by V. This is the relation between pressure and bulk modulus. When fluid compresses means we go for volume. Volume means bulk modulus. Then Hooke's law is expressed as P equal to B into delta V by V. So go for option C. 19th question. The correct increasing order of coefficient of elasticity of copper, steel, glass and rubber is. So we have to write their coefficient of elasticity in increasing order, which is having higher elasticity. In increasing order we have to write. So they had given copper, steel, glass and rubber. You can remember the tabular column here. It will be very helpful. So copper is having the value 1.2 into 10 raised to 11 Newton per meter square. Steel value is 20 into 10 raised to 10 Newton per meter square. Glass value is 7 into 10 raised to 10 and rubber value is 1 into 10 raised to 6. Right? So in increasing order we have to write. So increasing order means least value is rubber. So next to rubber we go for glass, then we go for copper, then we go for steel. So in increasing order, rubber, glass, copper, steel. Observe the options. Rubber, glass, copper, steel means option D is the right answer. 20th question. Statement. They had given two statements here. Go for the first statement. Statement 1. Young's modulus for a perfectly plastic body is 0. Yes, right? For perfectly plastic body, Young's modulus is 0. Then statement 2. For a perfectly plastic body, restoring force is 0. Both these statements are right. Go for the option. Both statement 1 and 2 are true. Statement 2 is correct explanation for statement 1. So they had given some options. First we have to understand both the statement. According to first statement, Young's modulus denoted by Y. First statement, Young's modulus for a perfectly plastic body is 0. That means Young's modulus is given by the equation stress divided by strain. Is it clear? So for perfectly elastic body, it is equal to 0. They had given this is the first statement. Come to the second statement. For a perfectly plastic body, restoring force is 0. Means we go for the stress definition. Stress is equal to what? Restoring force per unit area. So here according to the second statement, restoring force is 0. So F is equal to 0. This is second statement and this is first statement. So if restoring force is 0, then Young's modulus is also 0. If restoring force is 0, then Young's modulus is also 0. So go for the option. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are true. Yes, both are true. Statement 2 is a correct explanation for statement 1. Yes, this is the right option. You can observe. Statement 2 is giving proper explanation for statement 1 because they had given a restoring force means stress is 0 because what is the stress? Restoring force per unit area. So for statement 1, statement 2 is explaining. So option A is the right answer. 21st question. The length of an iron wire is given capital L. Area of cross section is A. Increase in length is small l on applying force F on its two ends. Which of the statement is right? The length of the iron wire. They had given iron wire. Let us consider this is iron wire. and it is having length L and area is A. The increase in length, its area increases, its length increases. Let us take it as a small L. Increase in length is L. On applying force, we are applying force on its two ends. So on both the end we are applying force. Which of the statement is right? Yes. So we go for Young's modulus because it is related to length. Length means we go for longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. Y equal to, we can write F by A whole divided by delta L divided by L. Or we can write it as F divided by A into L divided by delta L. According to the given, you can substitute here Y equal to force is F, area is A, right? So length is a capital L. Change in length is small l, l divided by l, right? Or we can write it as F into capital L divided by A into small l, right? This is the equation. Or we can write it as, what is the relation between small l and capital L? You can observe this equation can be written as Y equal to, we have the equation F L divided by A into L. It can be written as, I am going to take L on LHS side, Y into small l equal to F into L by A, right? So I want only relation with L and area, means L equal to L divided by A. Go to this equation. Change in length is directly proportional to original length. Change in length is inversely proportional to cross-sectional area. So these two equations you can observe here, then go for the right option. Change in length is directly proportional to original length of the iron wire, and change in length is inversely proportional to cross-sectional area. So go for the option. Increase in length is inversely proportional to length. No, this is wrong. Increase in length is proportional to cross-sectional area. No, it is not directly proportional. Increase in length is inversely proportional to area of cross-section. So option C is the right answer. 22nd question, statement they had given. First statement, stress is internal force per unit area of the body. They had given the definition of stress. Stress means what? Restoring force, or it is also called as internal force per unit area. Both are same. Restoring force, or we can use the word internal force. This is definition of stress. Come to the statement 2. Rubber is less elastic than steel. Yes, we already know that rubber is less elastic than steel, or steel is 10 raised to 5 times greater in elasticity than rubber. So these two statements are right. So stress is defined as internal force per unit area. So and rubber is less elastic than steel because, why rubber is less elastic than steel? Second statement, why rubber is less elastic? Because restoring force is less for rubber. So the question is, why rubber is less elastic? The answer is restoring force is less for rubber than steel. Restoring force is less for rubber than steel. Therefore, steel is 10 raised to 5 times greater than rubber. Now go for the option which is the right option. Both statement 1 and 2 are true. Yes, both are true. Statement 2 is correct explanation of statement 1. No, this is wrong. Go for option B. Both statement 1 and statement 2 are true. Yes, right. But statement 2 is not correct explanation for statement 1. Yes. Statement 2 is not going to explain statement 1 because you can observe the internal force is very less for rubber, so elasticity is less. So it is not a proper explanation for statement 1. So option B is the right answer. 23rd question. if mass m produces an elongation of delta L in a wire of radius r and length L, then Young's modulus of material of the wire is given by. They had given mass and change in length, radius, and its original length is also given. We have to find Young's modulus. Go for the equation. Young's modulus is given by longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. F by A divided by delta L by L. This is the equation, or it can be written as, so cross multiplier FL, we can take L to numerator, FL divided by A into delta L. This is the equation. Substitute their volume. So in place of F, we know the formula F equal to MA, or we can write mg here. F in place of F, I can write mg into length. They had given capital L, same keep as it is. Area they had not given, but radius is given, so which is equal to area of circle, so we can write pi r square. Radius is r, and change in elongation, change in length, they had given delta L, right? So go for the option which is the right option, mg into L divided by pi r square into delta L. Option C is the right answer. 24th question. If length of the wire is reduced to half, then it can hold the dash load. If you are going to reduce the length to half of its original value, then it can hold how much load? Options they had given: half load, same load, double load, 1/4. Remember, length of the wire is independent of load or independent of force. The load which is held by the wire, you should remember this statement. The load held by wire is independent of load held by wire is independent of length. Length of wire, whatever may be the length of the wire is independent of load. Load means what here? Force, or the braking force, or you can take braking force and area of cross section. So this is a force. So now read the question and tell me the answer. If length of the wire is reduced to half, then it can hold how much load? So it is independent of load, so we can go for which option? The option B, same load. So when we decrease or increase the length, it will not affect the load or the force. So option B is right. 25th question. The stress strain graphs for material A and B are shown in the figure. They had given two graphs for material A and for material B. You can observe the graph. This is stress versus strain graph for A material and for B material. The graph are drawn to the same scale. Both are having same scale. Which of the material has greater Young's modulus? Which is having greater Young's modulus, whether A and B, whether both. So that we have to determine. Remember, what is Young's modulus? Young's modulus means what? Restoring force per unit area divided by delta L by L. That means longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain. That gives Young's modulus, right? Longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain, right? Yes, you can observe here this graph is equivalent to stress and strain curve that you already studied. Remember, more force is required to increase Young's modulus. Greater the force, greater Young's modulus. Is it clear? So you can observe both the graph here. Come to the fracture point. Fracture point means exactly at a fracture point, the material lost its elastic property. It crosses the limit of elasticity. It will not obey Hooke's law. It loses its configuration. Its size and shape changes. When we apply the force, the breakage of material takes place. That is called a fracture point. Observe both the graph here. Fracture point, for which material it is greater? Fracture point is greater for A. Than for B, you can observe it is elongated, but here only it is having less fracture point. Is it clear? So it is elongated more, strain is more, but here strain is less. So that indicates for material A, it is having greater fracture point than material B. Material A is having greater fracture point, means it is having more capacity to change in the configuration, but the material B is having less fracture point. Immediately it will break down when we applied force, but when we applied force to the material A, fracture point is elongated, means still the size and shape can change, there is no breakage. Later it will break compared to material B. So the material A is having greater fracture point, means elongation is greater. Elongation is greater means length is greater. Length is greater means Young's modulus is greater. Young's modulus is greater for material A than for material B. So we go for option A. Option A is the right answer. 26th question. The value of tan of 90 minus theta in the graph gives. What is the value of tan of 90 minus theta? Yes, mathematically, tan of 90 minus theta is equal to what? Cot theta, right? So cot theta means what? Adjacent side divided by opposite side. Come to the graph here. So they had given theta. Let us join these points. Angle theta is given here. So this is hypotenuse. This is opposite side. This is adjacent side. Now write the value of cot theta from the graph. So cot theta means what? Cot theta is equal to adjacent side divided by opposite side. Adjacent side means what? Stress, x-axis. Opposite side means it is equal to y-axis, means strain. Right? So tan of 90 minus theta equal to stress by strain. Stress by strain means it is equal to modulus, elastic modulus, or you can take it as Young's modulus. Is it clear? You can observe the options. Young's modulus of elasticity. Yes, it is right. Compressibility means there is no stress by strain. Compressibility means it is reciprocal of bulk modulus. Shearing strain means it is only change in a tangential area. Area changes here. Tensile strength means it is equal to only longitudinal stress. But here we got the answer stress by strain. Stress by strain means it is equal to Young's modulus of elasticity. So option A is the right answer. 27th question. The load versus elongation graphs for 4 wires of same length and made of the same material are shown in the figure. The thinnest wire is represented by the line. They had given 4 wires A, B, C and D. All the 4 wires are having same length, made of the same material. We have to find which is the thinnest wire from the graph. So from the graph it is clear that for the same value of load, elongation is maximum for the wire OA. You can observe all the 4 lines here, 4 wires. You can go for the equation. Elongation means length. Length means we can go for Young's modulus. That is longitudinal stress divided by longitudinal strain, or we can write it as F by A divided by delta L divided by L, or we can write FL divided by A into delta L, or we can write F divided by delta L into L divided by A. So that indicates why Young's modulus is directly proportional to length. Young's modulus is inversely proportional to area. So these 2 points you should remember here. Young's modulus is directly proportional to length and Young's modulus is inversely proportional to area. Here we have to find thinnest wire. Thin means thickness is very less, area is very less. So when we applied force, when the load is added to the given wire, given material, so here length increases, Young's modulus also increases. Increase in the length is greater, but it is inversely proportional to area. Area means thickness. Thickness reduces less and length increases greater. Is it clear? So now you come to the graph. From the graph, it is very clear to understand. Elongation is maximum for wire OA. Hence, OA is the thinnest wire among 4 wires. So you can observe OD is having highest length. OA is having lowest length. Suppose it is, let us take it as it is 5 centimeter and it is, let us take them as 2 centimeter. So this is having lowest length, means area is greater. Highest length means because both are inversely proportional. As length increases, area decreases. As length decreases, area increases. So that option you can observe here. For the material OA is elongated more, elongation is maximum. So it is the thinnest wire among all the 4 wires. So we go for option A, OA is thinnest wire. 28th question. The graph given is a stress strain curve for options they had given: elastic object, plastic, elastomer, none of these. Come to the graph. This is a stress versus strain curve. First option is elasticity, elastic object. The graph is not a straight line here. Is it clear? So it does not obey Hooke's law. So according to Hooke's law, stress is directly proportional to strain. This is stress and this is strain. So if it is a straight line, it will obey Hooke's law. If it obeys Hooke's law, then we go for elasticity. But here it is not a straight line. So option A is wrong. Come to the second option, plastic. So it is not a plastic because in plastic, when we applied force, so there is no capacity to regain its original size and shape. So plastic is not the right answer. Option C, elastomer. For less stress, there is more strain. Remember, elastomer means example. You can take example rubber, elastomer. So in elastomer, what happens? For less stress, there is more strain. Means for less force, more change in the configuration takes place. That is elastomers. Less force for more change in size and shape. Right? So it is not a straight line, it is not having elastic property, it is not a plasticity, but it is a elastomer because you can observe the graph. For less change in the stress, there is more change in the strain. So this is option C, elastomer. 29th question. A thin 1 meter long rod has a radius 5 millimeter. A force of 50 pi kilonewton is applied at one end to determine its Young's modulus. Assume that force is exactly known. If least count in the measurement of all length is 0.01 millimeter, which of the following statement is false? So we go for options. The maximum value of y that can be determined is, they had calculated Young's modulus value 2 into 10 raised to 14 Newton per meter square. So we have to calculate and we have to find whether it is true or false. Come to the option B, delta y divided by y, that indicates change in Young's modulus to the original value. It is said to be minimum. It gets minimum contribution from uncertainty in the length. Yes. So when anything changes occurs in length, means when length changes, longitudinal stress or longitudinal strain, always remember when we applied force, increase in length is less than original length. If it is the original length L, increase in length is always less, right? Yes, it is delta L is minimum here. So this is the right option. Delta y by y is said to be maximum. Contribution from uncertainty in strain. So when uncertainty occurs in strain, change in configuration to the original configuration. So here delta y and y is said to be maximum. Then the figure of merit is the largest for length of the rod. Yes. So for the rod, when we applied force externally, increase in the length takes place. So figure of merit. Figure of merit means increase in length per division, right? So we go for option B, C, D. Both all these three options are right. The first option is said to be false because we have to find the false statement. So we go for option A here. And we can, let us check their value whether it is right or wrong. We can check it here. They had given Young's modulus, or all the givens we can use it here. Y equal to, we know the formula, F by A divided by delta L divided by L, or we can write Y equal to FL divided by, in place of area we can write pi r square into delta L. Substitute all the values. So 50 pi kilo means 10 raised to 3 divided by pi r square. So r value they had given 5 into 10 raised to millimeter means 10 raised to minus 3 square. Into change in configuration they had given 0.01 millimeter means 10 raised to minus 3. So when we calculate, we will get the answer 2 into 10 raised to 9. So here they had given 2 into 10 raised to 14. So this is a false. Option A is the right answer. 30th question. The diagram shown below represents the applied force per unit area. Applied force per unit area means what? This is equal to stress, restoring force per unit area, stress. With corresponding to change produced in a thin wire means configuration changes, it is equal to strain. It is just like a stress and strain curve. The region in which the wire behaves like a liquid. In which region? A to B, B to C, C to D. They had given some regions here. In which region the wire behaves like a liquid? Remember, for small change in the force, delta L is more for liquid. For small change in force, delta L is more for viscous liquid, or you can take liquid. So in liquid, for small force there is more change in delta L. So this equation we can use here. From A to B, come to this portion, A to B. This part, here in this part, force is more, means stress is more, strain is very, very less. Stress is more, strain is less. But for liquid, stress is less, strain is more. Is it clear? So stress is more means it is not for liquid, it is not the right option. Come to B to C region, B to C. For B to C you can observe stress is less and strain is more, elongation is more. Delta L is more for small change in force or stress. So for B to C it behaves like a liquid, so option B is right, because you should remember for liquid stress is less, strain is more, or force is less, delta L is more. Elongation is more for small force. So option D is right answer. For the portion BC it is acting as a liquid.